Hi folks, it's Rob Flux here from Property Developer Network, and I'm here with Michael and Viv and doing the first in a series of success stories that are based on real deals. So Michael and Viv just presented a real deal at one of our monthly meetups yesterday at our Brisbane event, which was the success of Michael's first project. And Viv's, how many projects have you done, Viv?
I've done 3 developments and probably about 12 renos.
There you go. So an experienced hand, but Michael was very much a virgin in the process. So
in development side anyway.
In the development side of things, yes, absolutely. So we're going to go through a little bit of the journey for each of them. They happen to both be in our property development formula program, but I guess Viv came in with plenty of experience in there, and I guess a little bit of fine tune. And Michael came in and I think you've done a couple of courses as well, haven't you?
Your course actually.
Oh, just mine.
Just
okay, well,
yours.
there you go.
Yep.
It shows what my memory's like. But maybe we'll start with how you found the property itself. So Michael found the deal. So tell us a little bit about the journey.
So the property was on realestate.com. A friend of mine I put an ad on Facebook and said I'm on Heat. I'm looking for a deal. I was very somewhat desperate for my first project, and a friend of mine said, I think that might be a deal. And within half an hour of going through the site, and I was on the phone to the agent on the Sunday chasing a contract and putting an offer in. So I could see it was a good deal, had some challenges, and yeah, just wasn't going to stop until we got through.
Yeah, might go and talk about the I was on Heat part. So I recall a conversation where Michael and I had, along with Tony, who's one of the coaches in the program, where Michael had plenty of trajectory, put a lot of effort in, and had hit a little bit of a roadblock mentally, and needed just a little push to get you there.
I think I put in a lot of effort, but just hadn't felt like I got rewarded for that effort. I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was putting in 1,000 letters into mailboxes. I'd put in about 40 different written offers in the space of 6 months. I felt like I'd put enough effort to get a deal. So it was probably a bit of felt like I needed a reward. So just one more push. And I managed to get this one across the line. And I guess putting that ad of I'm on Heat was really just a topic of conversation and generates interest.
Yeah.
It was nothing real in that.
But it is, I guess, a lesson for, you guys out there in Facebook land that it does require a lot of effort to get there, and that sometimes that effort doesn't instantly reward you, and sometimes it's good to just have somebody remind you that all the work that you're doing is fantastic and that it's on the right path, and that it's just a matter of time. So we say in the program that you need to be, I guess, looking at 300 odd properties before you're going to get one that lands. I don't know what your end up count was, but
I was well over 300, or like 500. But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I guess the end result is really what matters. Yep. And then once you found the property, the conditions that you had to get it under, I'll go back one step. I was actually talking to someone in the crowd after you presented, who actually looked at this very same deal and is kicking themselves that they didn't take it on because they saw a couple of issues and challenges in the site that they decided to run away from. Now, I guess you came to me with some of those challenges and we were able to find solutions to those, but why don't you walk through what some of those were and we can give some insights to the guys as to how to get around that.
Look, there was a few challenges. There's probably been about 3 or 4 people in the group that came to me and said that the agent had brought it to them off market and they turned it away because they just didn't feel they could get through some of those challenges. Some of them there was a large mango tree on there, there was flooding on the property, there was biodiversity overlay, there was a character zoned property, there was a busy road, there was a bus stop at the front, there was a whole bunch of whole list of things that needed to be addressed, and I missed out on it the first time round. So someone else got under contract. I put in a backup contract with some terms, and really just showed the agent that I was very keen. And the second time round, I had to have 10 days building a pest and finance because anything more, and they just didn't think I was interested enough. So I had to pedal like crazy in those 2 weeks to work through with my consultants on those challenges, and they're all able to be solved. So.
And one of those challenges was specifically finance, and that's where Viv came into the process, because the two of you got together in a JV arrangement. I guess you were a little bit shy in a couple of spaces, and I guess the two of you filled the gap. I guess two can achieve where one can't in many instances.
Yeah, I think originally I was going to fund the whole deal, and my finance wasn't quite enough, and I think it was, on one of the workshops online, and we were discussing it, and Michael could see my face that I was really disappointed, because like I totally love these old houses and bringing them back to life. So that sort of changed the thing. He rang me the next day and said, well, look, I can see you really love it and I really love it. I want to get this across the line. How about we go halves?
Yep.
And then that sort of created a scenario that we could both do the deal and still put input into it and get some nice output.
It was a difficult decision, because I had people in Sydney and people like that just said, I'm happy to fund the whole thing. You just pay me a return. And so the numbers looked really good, but when it comes to looking at what I needed to complement me and the project, I needed someone that knew something about renovations, had some time to be able to be on site to manage the renovation, and had some money that I didn't have. So I felt that as soon as I met Viv, although she couldn't fund the whole project, we could fund it together, and it was an aha kind of moment. I was like, well, that's fine. I'll put in my serviceability and all my cash, and let's do it. And yeah, we haven't really looked back. I think we're looking for another one together, and it's
so shared the finances, but also shared the execution side of things. So Michael ran the subdivision side of things, and Viv ran the renovation side of things, which is a really good compliment. And for anyone out there, I guess when you're trying to do your first deal and you're missing something in the piece, you want people that are going to complement you, where you're going to fit hand and glove like that, so that the bits that you're weak on, they're strong, and where they're strong, you're you get what I mean.
Yeah.
The opposite. So do that.
You form a team that
absolutely. It's all about forming a team, and the team that you've formed, not only in yourself but the extracurricular team. I guess the people outside you with the town planners and the civil engineers and those sorts of things. I know that they're all a crack team that you put together, and I guess the results speak to that. And the renovation, Viv, is beautiful, by the way. So.
Thank you.
Yes. So, what do you say? 14 renos, or?
Look, some of them are my own, and some of them are flips, and some of them are for other people. So, I think it's around about 11 or 12.
Yeah,
really.
plenty.
Yeah.
And we will do a walk around pretty soon to show you the end result, and you'll see that it is a gorgeous old home that's come back to life. The condition of it in the early days was. It needed a little bit of TLC, let's just say. It was very tired, but it's come up a treat, and I guess has a good number of years left in it yet. So
look, another 100.
Another 100 years. And I guess Viv is actually also the former owner of the RenoSave card that I have recently acquired. So Viv and I go a little way back as well, and I guess there's elements of this that have benefited from that process as well.
Yeah, I think RenoSave... I sort of created RenoSave from my renos. So every time I wanted to get something for myself for my reno, I actually created an opportunity for all my RenoSave members to get that deal as well. So RenoSave sort of grew as I reno. The more I reno, the more deals that came on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then basically get that word out. Focusing on developments and renovations now, so I've passed the baton on to Rob to grow it bigger and better.
And we've merged that with the Property Developer Network community, and that's now going gangbusters. We've got, I guess, the size of our buying power now means that we're getting better than trade in a whole bunch of places, and lots of people benefiting from that. So I guess thank you for getting it to where it was, and it is in good hands, I promise you. So we will take that to the end. What about some other lessons in the process, guys? So you had a couple of challenges that you had to solve from a technical perspective. There was some issues around the protected tree. There was some, well, not protected tree, the tree being potentially protected. There are also some issues around your sewer that you need to resolve, and stormwater. and you also had some challenges with the actual house renovation and some of the work that you wanted to do. So, which one do we pick on first?
I'll start with the
In
sewer,
order,
maybe.
yeah.
I guess the sewer was in the neighbour's yard. If you saw my presentation yesterday, the sewer was in the neighbour's yard, so we needed access to be able to put in a new sewer. There was a number of options there that we could consider, but I guess the final, it wasn't insurmountable, but the last one was actually to build a new sewer line down the street, and that was very expensive and certainly not something we wanted to do, but we could still, there was always a last resort.
Yeah, at least we
so
know at least we could actually get sewer to the block, even if it was going to cost us more. It wasn't
It was
a
doable.
blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you approached the neighbour and had, I guess, the friendly next door neighbour type approach, which worked really well.
Yep, I didn't turn up with 2 bottles of wine or a suitcase full of cash. I turned up as, Michael Horne, the honest family man, as opposed to the filthy property developer or whatever people think they are. And just had a chat and said, look, I'm buying this place next door. It's in a dilapidated state and it sits on 2 lots, and I'd also discovered through a CCTV of the sewer line that it was blocked with tree roots from trees from their yard as well. So there was a couple of things to work through, and they were very accommodating and able to sign the form. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking because the sewer design and process with QU just took, I think they say 21 days, but it took 6 weeks, more than 21 days to actually get the approvals, and so it was a little bit nerve-wracking that it wasn't until the end that we spent the money and got the sewer actually installed. So that was that part. There's always, I guess, for me, going through the deal, there was always a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And plan C could always be done, just at what cost or what outcome. So that was that part. And the tree, I guess it called council. Large mango tree on the site. It wasn't protected. It called council. They said that. It's also engaged an ecologist to make sure that it wasn't mapped under any natural null.
Natural assets local law.
Something of the word, natural asset local law, and also was able to be removed. So that was enabled the location for the driveway, but also just freed up a yard that just wasn't available before. Yeah. As a result of that, I also there was a large stump there, and instead of just getting it turned into wood chips in a garden, we got in touch with a local woodworking crew, and they made a bowl for me, which I'll show you.
So local men's shed, and I guess beautiful souvenir to remember the project, and just goes to show that it's not just, like you said, wood chips,
garden mulch. So I've got a nice little souvenir of the project, and that guy himself is actually unwell, so he's getting some more value out of that stump of doing some nice things in his spare time. So it had quite a good outcome for that. And what was the other one? The house. So we had to, because it was a CR1, we also wanted to put a deck on the back of the property.
So for those interstate who aren't familiar with CR1, it's a character residential zoning, which means that I guess the intrinsic value of the house, and also the age and character of the house needs to be protected.
Yeah, so I guess when we're looking at our demographic, who's going to buy the property at the end, all houses in this particular suburb, it's an inner city suburb, all houses have a deck. So because it was a corner lot, we needed to go through a development approval to put a deck on the back. And so that was a little bit challenging. I'll probably, now Viv's back, I'll hand her over to walk through some of those little challenges that we navigated our way through, for a better word.
Yeah, CR1's a little bit different. Usually and I've done CR1 houses before, but it was always my understanding that after the HIP, it wasn't really an issue with council. But being on a corner lot makes a really big difference. It basically means that everything on the outside, the council wants you to keep. And if you want to change it at all, you need to get permission from council first, don't you, before you actually rip out stuff.
So I might just articulate that a little further for those that understand. The hip is, I guess, the join in the roof, I guess the pitch of where the pitch of the roof actually meets. So anything normally forward of that point towards the street is what is protected. But in this instance, because it's a corner, there's 2 street frontages, and so you're looking at, I guess, two faces that are actually
Yeah.
protected, and
And
that's the
actually,
challenge.
because you actually turn the corner, you can actually look back upon the back of the house as well. So it pretty much means that you need to be very, very careful with front, back, side, anything. Council will want to know about it or approve it. There are some things that you can do as of right, like you can actually build underneath. You can put a garage underneath your house as of right. You can build in as of right, but I'll be a caveat on that and go and check that. But if you want to change windows or doors and everything, you really need to check that. And we were still going through the planning stage of the inside of the house when we actually put the DA in showing the deck, because we actually put the deck on the DA so that we could get that through council, so that we could get the alignment and know that we could actually do it, and then we got the BA for the deck. But in doing so, the design actually showed one of those walls as being a solid wall, and then we didn't actually make part of the overhang over the window disappear, so that when we changed it to a door, we'd actually changed it to a door on the drawing, but we hadn't made the awning part disappear, which meant that if you walked out that door, you were going to hit your head, which is just a little bit of planning issue on our behalf, because if we'd actually sort of put the design in how we wanted it, we wouldn't have had a problem. So I would say delay your planning, or delay the DA for a week and make sure you've got your plan right before you put that DA in, and that will solve a lot of problems for you, because like whatever you put in that DA sticks. Because even though there was a gap where the door was, it wasn't actually a doorway, there was a gap, and that was as it stood for the last 80 odd years maybe. Because it was on the DA, nobody was prepared to say it was okay to put a window in there, even though if I filled it in with post 46 cladding, which would have been like yesterday's cladding, and as of right, when you put anything in post 46 you can remove, even though you could do that, because it was on the DA, council would not let you do it. So it meant another DA or another addition to it. So you're having to go back to council and talk to, you know, like town planners and certifiers to just rectify those little things that if you'd actually thought about exactly what you wanted when you put that DA in, you wouldn't have a problem.
And the other one that I know that you did do wasn't a challenge per se, but I guess something for others to be aware of, is when you're putting your stormwater in, you need to provide an upstream connection to neighbours uphill. And the reason for that is that council, in their wisdom, and rightly so, have deemed that they don't want to landlock anyone upstream who may want to develop in the future. Now, the irony is it's a compulsory part of it, but there currently is nobody that is developable upstream, but somehow you still have to put that in. So make sure that when you're identifying your sites that you're actually costing those things out, because whilst it doesn't look like council will have a requirement, it is actually a mandated part of the process, because nobody knows what's going to happen in the future in 15, 20 years' time if those land lots get rezoned, that maybe they are developable then, and so council are trying to think of the future in that regard.
Infrastructure for maybe what if.
Yeah. So I guess we've covered a fair bit. Is there anything that you guys want to add that we've not really touched on?
Well, where we're at right now, so we have a contract on the house and a contract on the land, and we're in the back end of going through plan sealing shortly. So in terms of the outstanding items, we're waiting for the QU again, for the certificate for the installation of the sewer. Once that comes through, then we can go into plan sealing, and then we can settle on the house and the block of land. So that's probably a bit of a summary of where we're at.
Yep.
So we're keeping our buyers up to date with where things are at, and they're aware of, I guess, through either the solicitor and the agent on the process and estimated timeframes.
And it is quite a simple thing to just put a few clauses in on your contracts. that show that you're actually selling off the new block and on the proposed lots, blah blah blah. So it's not a real big issue that you can get that drawn up by your solicitor.
Yeah, so I might articulate what that is for everyone else. When you're going through a subdivision process, it initially starts as one block of land. When you subdivide it, it becomes two, but in the middle, you've got the DA approval stage and you're selling a proposed lot. It doesn't actually exist, and so whilst you've signed a contract, you're selling something that doesn't exist. So you have to put some conditions in that say if and when it exists, that then becomes yours. And there are some clauses in there for sunset dates on the off chance that you never complete the deal, but effectively lets them know what the proposed outcome is going to be. They sign off on that proposed outcome, and then everybody's happy. So it's called an off-the-plan project for any. Sorry, off-the-plan contract, I should say, for anyone doing that.
Well, I think it's just clauses to the normal REIQ contract.
It can be done that way.
Which is what we've done. It's a lot cheaper to just add those clauses, but. The other thing that we did do, and I'm very, very grateful that I think we learned about this, was to put the QUU application in at the same time as the DA and not wait for the DA to come through. The DA was quite quick, really, but the QUU application took forever, so which delayed the house sale as well, because like I couldn't go to market with a house that had a temporary sewer line stuck out and we're waiting for the new sewer to be put in. So we couldn't actually go to market with the house until that was done. If we actually put it in at this, waited for the DA and then put the QU, we would probably just be finishing the civils now, and which adds 6 to 8 weeks at least onto the project. So if we had a great civils engineer, so we were pretty happy with what he did, and really that saved us a lot of time. So I would definitely recommend doing that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like something we submitted it before, just after we went settled on the property. So we started the process as soon as physically possible. It's just the time that it takes. I think we're at about the 6-month mark now. So it's painfully slow, but that's just the way it is sometimes. Yeah,
so for those of you interstate, QU is Queensland Urban Utilities, who's the local sewer and stormwater provider. Sewer and water provider. Council in this instance looks after stormwater. You would have your own utility provider in your area. Sometimes it's council themselves, sometimes it's an external party. That's usually a pseudo-government department. So process is often quite slow, and putting those applications in parallel.
Quite slow is an understatement. Sorry.
Putting those applications in parallel is very much recommended for the process. So, any other lessons for Joe Public out there? Numbers.
The numbers. So we acquired the property after some renegotiations for $845, and the block of land's under contract for $612. And the house under contract for $815. So, yeah.
So after all costs,
costs $214,000 as the profit, and we're very, very happy with that. So
in 7 months. That's not a bad hourly rate, folks. So I guess
a few hours gone into it.
I did get a few muscles out of that, but yeah.
There's
used to have hair. No, just joking.
So, no, he did.
Yeah, 7 months duration. Effort-wise, I guess you were both, doing other things at the same time. So Michael has a full-time job, and I guess Viv is a full-time developer of sorts.
Full-time developer, renovator, yeah. So, but I did find that while I was doing the renovation, it took my eye off the ball for looking for new deals. So my advice is to get a process, so that while you're renovating or deep inside the deal, that your process keeps going. So my VA now is set up with a list of jobs and things to look for. She actually finds me deals now, so that I've just got a short list of deals to have a look for, instead of having to do a lot of the other stuff as well.
Now, we will do a guided tour in a moment, but there's quite a bit of a lag between us talking and people writing questions. So now's the time to say, if you guys have got any questions about the project, or any questions of Michael and Viv individually as to their experiences, then feel free to reach out at this point in time, and I guess we'll pass some time until we do till we do the guided tour. So what's next, Michael?
Well, I'm madly looking for the next project. Unfortunately, crashed a few contracts in the last few months, so we're just really amping up the acquisition of the next one. I've got pretty serious goals for early next year, and time's ticking away. So
very good. And yourself, Viv?
I have been going crazy putting offers out. So I think I put 6 or 7 out last week. And I'll be aiming to do similar this week. So you agents out there, expect to hear from me. But long term, like I'm looking at just doing another development, but also renovating a 5-bed, 5-bath or 4-bed, 4-bath to rent by the room, sort of like a mini apartment style.
Very good.
So use my renovation skills in that sort of area
and
for some income.
You mentioned before that you're happy to do JVs together again, but is that going to be subject to the deal, or is that, or are you open to others reaching out and saying, hey, we can do 3 or 4 projects at a time if lots of people want to come in with lots of money?
Yeah, look, I mean,
We're
both looking at going full
Don't hold
time,
back.
so like honestly, we'll look at any offers or any deals that you've got.
Yeah, look.
We work together, we work with others, it's all good.
Yep. So there is one question here. So from Ian Grayson, did you manage to stay within your estimated reno budget?
My initial reno budget was 70 grand, and it was really a lipstick job, which in the inner city, I guess there's a minimum sort of price for things, but you can also, once we got into it, we were like, okay, what do we need to do to get the maximum amount of profit, and that changed significantly, but for the good, for the better.
We actually revised that budget, I dare say, before we actually started renovating. So we actually decided that it needed to have a deck on it, and a deck's 20 grand. So by the time we sort of like looked at that and thought, well, okay, if we're actually going to spend that money on a deck, what do we need to do to get the maximum benefit from our dollar value that's spent? And so we looked at different designs, and probably Michael was sick of me sending through designs. But another friend of mine who was a draftsman as well came up with the same design that I had come up with. And I thought, yeah, I think I'm on the right path. And so we did the figures, did what it was going to go back at, and what we thought it would cost. So our new budget then went out to 135. And 130?
140 I thought it was, but anyway.
No, that's what it ended up costing. It was 140, but I thought we sort of like started about the 130. So we were about 10k over, but we had 10k in our buffer zone. So, and I am not sorry we went over, because the things that we did do were things that the buyer market that we were aiming at will want. So it will get their heart and soul into buying the house. So, yeah.
And that's the thing that you're trying to do with the renovation, is actually get somebody emotionally connected to the home. So I think you guys have done a very good job here.
Yeah. Well, we started with a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and the classic sleep out on the side. So really, whatever you do from there is, people don't 2-bedroom house. People don't want that anymore. A 3 or 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom is typically what a lot of people they expect an ensuite. They expect a bit of an open plan. So that's kind of the strategy of allowing the budget to change, but the end sale price was significantly different.
So just to clarify, it was 2-bed, 1-bathroom, and a toilet that was kind of out the back and downstairs, right?
No, the old toilet was downstairs.
Back of the kitchen.
But the back of the kitchen,
Yeah, okay. And
same level.
now it's a 4-bedroom, 1 ensuite, 2 ensuites.
1 ensuite.
One
so
ensuite,
2 bath.
2 bath, and much nicer layout. So where we're sitting right now is the lounge, but in the original home, this was actually the master bedroom.
This is the master bedroom.
And so they've taken out a couple of walls, open up the inside of the house, removed the walls between the 2 bedrooms that were originally here, turned that into the lounge dining area, and then push the bedrooms out to the side of the house, and it flows much nicer
Yeah.
now.
So a lot of the stuff that we did was repair work, like in the sleep out, the ceiling, the false ceiling, was in a really bad state of repair. So it needed to be done anyway. So we just basically fixed that, which then gave us legal height, and we just put in a wall and gave us 2 new bedrooms. So very simple fix, and not structural at all, really. So just simple things. And by opening up those 2 walls, it created, the modern family. You can sit in the kitchen and cook and have your kids playing and watch them, or, if you're entertaining, like you can have your friends sitting at the bench or at the kitchen table and be part of the lifestyle. So we just gave them a modern lifestyle house.
Yep.
Absolutely. So Alex says, "Hi guys, congratulations again. So sorry I couldn't make it this afternoon." So Michael and Viv actually had cheese, wine, bickies, and a few beers here this afternoon.
You missed out.
I guess trying to show everybody the success, and that was quite successful. And well attended, certainly when I turned up anyway. Although coming onto Facebook Live, everybody's scattered very fast.
See ya.
So she's missed out on that one, but I'm having trouble with picturing what you're talking about. So we will be doing a walk around the home. Don't you worry, Alex. That is going to happen very soon. So just see if we can find any other questions. So no other questions. So
Okay.
shall we do the guided tour?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yep.
So in this instance, I won't be able to see what's on screen. So you guys walk around, and I will aim at what I think you guys will be. So this is the current lounge room, going into the dining room. So why don't you guys do the guided tour? That's Ron, that's Viv's husband.
Who did quite a bit of work in the renovation part when he was home. He goes to work for a rest, I might add. 2 weeks on, driving trains for a rest, and comes home to visit me and help me renovate.
So Viv, this is your reno. Why don't you give us the guided tour? You stand up and walk us around, and I'll just follow, and I hope I can keep you in shot.
Okay. Probably come into here. So this is what was a sleep out. So these are external doors out onto what in Queensland terms is called a sleep out, which was like a deck that was enclosed in, and when families had lots of kids, that's where they used to sleep. So what we've basically done is repaired the walls and the ceilings. But in doing that has given it legal height, and so therefore it is now classified as a bedroom. To have a bedroom, you need to be 2/3 over 2.4 height of your ceiling. So that is one. And this is the other little cutie. I don't know whether you can see that. So we've gone with a bit of a style through the house. We've sort of tried to keep everything similar in the same, like in the same thread. So the Hamptons look sort of goes very well with colonial, and so we've sort of done the kitchen, this is the new kitchen. We didn't have very much room, but mind you, the other lady, if you can imagine, one set of windows and basically a sink. That was what her kitchen was. So I think we've given them a lot of bench space. You can sit at the bench. They've got a lovely underbench sink, integrated dishwasher, all in this little tiny space. And then you've got modern new appliances here, and lots of drawers and cupboards. And just as part of the kitchen, we'll keep going through here. This was the old toilet, so it is long and narrow. This is a beautiful outside window that underneath the house was left an old hutch. That is one of the lead lights from the old hutch. So this is a good preparing area. You might want to use it as a utility space, all that sort of stuff. It sort of helps in these small kitchens to keep all your messy stuff out of the road.
Like a butler's pantry.
Like a butler's pantry, but it just doesn't have water. That is actually a solar light that's powered, so something different. and we had a little space, so we made a modern little laundry so that Queenslanders have their laundry underneath, and most modern families have kids running around and they want to be able to do washing as and where they can. So that sort of like tucks it all away, lots of space. We didn't really do too much with the bathroom. It's as it is. This is what it was. This is the original bathroom, the original bath, tiles and sink. The only thing that we've basically put is a new vanity, a new screen, and there is a little toilet behind the door.
Don't need to see the toilet.
No, I'm sure everybody knows what a toilet looks like. So when you come in the house, come up our beautiful stairs and see our beautiful lawn and everything. So this is the original what do you got, veranda. It's been enclosed. We could have taken the windows off, but we're on a busy road and this actually sort of like buffers some of the noise. So we've got the windows open at the moment because it's a hot day. But it's a really, really lovely little space. It'll be absolutely perfect in winter to sit out here. It also sort of gives that second bedroom like a little, you have it as a study or yeah, lots of different sort of uses for that bedroom. They have their own. If you wanted to use it as an office, you know, it's a little waiting area. You know, if you're massaging from home, this would be perfect. So this is probably the second largest room. It has again, that wardrobe is in the same sort of style as what the kitchen is, so it all sort of like runs together. And then through here. And this is the main bedroom. So this was the old dining room, and this was the entry, apart from a little weird sort of angled coffin shaped entry from the lounge to the dining room. We've actually just repurposed the dining room and added a wall so that we could put an ensuite in. Nice little ensuite. And a walk-in robe? Yes, walk-in robe. We actually stayed here last night, so there are a few of our things in there. And of course, you know, a lovely big shower. And that's pretty much it, except for our lovely deck. So come and sit out on our deck. Huge spot for a fridge. And we paid an awful lot of money to have this deck flow and not hit our head on here. So I don't know, I'm short. Okay, so I'm short, I'm here. Michael, how tall are you? There you go, Rob.
Taller.
Okay, now if we didn't go to council and fight for that, everybody that walked out of that would have hit their head.
Everyone who wasn't Viv.
Everyone except for me. So it was worth going to council so that you had a saleable product that nobody was going to damage themselves walking out.
Very good, and this is the lovely deck and
this is the
lovely
deck,
Ron.
The lovely Ron.
And next door, this is where you can take over my hands.
Yep.
So next door is the back here is the block of land that we've sold.
So I'm just going to lean over the fence, and that's the fence line right there.
Yeah, so as part of the subdivision, being a corner lot, we realigned the boundary and were able to create a 450 square metre block of land here. And as part of the process, we needed to install a sewer from, like we said earlier, from the neighbour's yard in the corner there up to service the house and also service the lot, and also an upstream stormwater connection for council. So you can see, I'm not sure if you can, but the pegs in there that mark the easement for that down at the bottom of the block. Yeah, it's got a 22 metre frontage. So it's quite a good, you know, inner city block of land, which is pretty rare in the suburb. You can probably do a little walk around here, Rob, and show. So
actually, Rob, this is my grass. See this long, patchy, cheap and nasty grass, and we'll show the nice Michael grass around the corner here.
So the backyard for the place is really a side yard. So it's about a 200 square metre little patch here for either a pool or a young family to play, and access off Fletcher Parade, which is not as busy as Cooper's Camp. So that's about where it's all at.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Come back in, Viv. See if we can get everybody in the same shot because you're short. So, very much. Oh, we're good, thank you, Ron. But want to thank you guys for, I guess, going through your deal with you, and congratulate you both on, I guess, a great success. I'm looking forward to seeing where both of you go for bigger and badder deals. Next one's along. Oh, we've actually got another question here.
Yeah, Louisa, we did get Mink to do the staging, yes.
Yes. So, if any of you want to reach out to either Michael or Viv, if you're interested in being joint venture partners, I'm sure that both of them would love to hear from anyone who's wanting to partner with them. I can highly encourage, having seen the quality of the work that's here and I guess the challenges that they had to overcome and how professionally they did that they would very much do very well for looking after you guys. So I can see lots of congratulations coming through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everybody. So
thanks for tuning in.
now, as regards to, I guess, the Property Developer Network community, our next 3 events will be Sydney, then Melbourne, then Brisbane, and pretty much all of them are going to be Christmas. So in Sydney and Melbourne, it will be our final meeting, and then it'll be Christmas drinks afterwards. In Brisbane, it will just be Christmas drinks because it's the week before Christmas. So can see everybody saying congratulations. We're going to say bye for now. So thank you, folks.
Thank you.
And thank you, these guys, for letting us through the house. Bye.
Okay, thanks. See ya.